and welcome to A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love. I'm your host, Tomás Garza, and happy holiday weekend to all of you tuning in from the United States. For those of you tuning in from outside the US, this is a 3-day holiday weekend, and today is Memorial Day. So I hope that everybody is having a great extended weekend. Now, if it's not an extended weekend where you are, hopefully you're still having a great day. It's Monday. And anyway, thank you all for tuning in. And thank you all for all of the recent views and comments. We had some very, very good dialogue going on this live stream over the last couple of days. So I very much would love to continue that. So before we launch into the topic for today, which is a special focus on communication, I want to just invite you to leave your questions and leave comments here in the comment thread. If you have specific questions about A Course in Miracles or spirituality, feel welcome to ask. I'll answer here in the comment thread. And feel welcome also to just say hello to us, to just pop in and say hi, because that's always so much fun for me, is to have this interaction. And thank you all for all the shares, all the comments, the hearts, the likes, everything. All right. So on Mondays, as you may know, the last few Mondays, I've decided on the live to take a 1-day break from the workbook for students. And well, I just have to say, if you're following along with me on that, never fear. Tomorrow's lesson's going to be here tomorrow. It's not going anywhere. So what I've wanted to do, and I think that we're in the process of doing it, is take 1 day a week. I've designated that as Monday, to have a special focus on a life-related theme or a general spiritual related theme. And we've had some good ones in the past few weeks. On a Monday, I've talked about mind training, which is a lot of fun. Yeah, mind training, and we've talked about certainty. We've talked about stepping into your own power, taking ownership, which is what spirituality is all about, claiming that you own your experience, because you do. Right? We all have a choice moment to moment between love or fear. So we actually literally create our own experience. And today, let's talk about communication. That's what I want to discuss here, is how we communicate. It's a big topic. Now, A Course in Miracles approaches communication from a couple of different standpoints that are distinct from how we usually think about it. We often think about communication as verbal and possibly in writing. Maybe if we're really thinking about it, if we're really and truly concentrating on it and doing some thought, we'll think about nonverbal communication, how one shows up, hand gestures, how one emotionally and psychologically presents oneself, those types of things. So communication in A Course in Miracles is the function of our physical body. All right. It's the function of this thing that we appear to be inhabiting. Now, you may have a gut intuitive feeling that this is not you. You're more than this, something other than. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Most definitely. Most definitely. Yeah. So what do you do with it here in the world? Well, we communicate with each other. That's the purpose of this body. It's a communication device, if you prefer. It's a tool, if you're comfortable calling yourself a tool, because you are, and I am too, of course. We're tools of love. A tool can be put to service for love or fear. It can be put into the service of God. It can be put into the service of the ego. Yeah. It's nothing in itself, but we give it the meaning that it has for us by our choice. We communicate. So the invitation, if you prefer to call it a challenge, great. That's not a problem, right? Call it a challenge if you want to. But the invitation here is to communicate love, to express love. The physical body that we are running around, apparently in, is a communication tool. We use it to reach each other. I mean, really, that's it. And it sounds obvious, of course, doesn't it? Most of the things that A Course in Miracles says are deep down obvious. Pretty much everything that I'm saying on this live stream might strike you at one point or another as patently obvious. Yes. So why do we need to repeat it? Well, because we don't believe it, really, deep down, and we go off and we live our conditioned lives. And we need things like the workbook in A Course in Miracles. We need things like meditation and yoga and walks in nature. We need things like prayer and devotionals and scripture readings and all kinds of practices, whatever that looks like for you. We need spiritual practice to remind ourselves and to indeed inspire ourselves to choose love. It's, of course, natural and very easy to get swept away. Not a problem, right? It's very easy to do that. So all of this is about awareness that we get swept away and catching ourselves when we do, lovingly, of course, and bringing our attention back to the moment. That's it. So what makes it difficult for us? Well, all of that conditioning. So communication is the objective of the physical body that we are in here, that we inhabit, that we, run around in. We interact with each other. It's to communicate with one another. It's to reach people. Yeah. Also, in A Course in Miracles, communication is described as beyond words, because it flows directly from God to God's creation. In other words, ourselves. Self with a capital S, if you prefer. Communication is automatic, it's instantaneous, it's beyond time. It simply happens. It's just the nature of creation itself. In other words, it's just our nature itself to communicate, to be in communication with our source, capital S. Yes, of course. Yeah. It's natural and automatic. So that is something that A Course in Miracles tells us. It's up to us to practice this and then to have that experience, because this is what it's all about. Communication is all about experience. Yeah. So how do you do that? Well, spiritual practice. If you're following along in the workbook, I invite and encourage you to do the workbook exercises. These are meditations. They're practice periods. If you're not following along in the workbook, I invite and encourage you to diligently, consistently, and persistently follow your own spiritual practice, to follow the love, to follow the instruction of your own guides, your own system, whatever that may look like. That's what we do. Now, the communication, the natural, instinctive, intuitive communication between God and God's creation is something that we can, in fact, access. It is not inaccessible. We have the tools to tap into this flow, so to speak, to tap into the stream. Now, these are just words, yes, flow and stream. They're just words that we're using in this world to describe the experience of who we really are. So how do we get there? Well, we engage in spiritual practice so that this communication first, it's always happening, but we first become aware of it happening, and then we learn to access it again and again to the point where it becomes a constant living, breathing, fluid, continuous experience. You access true communication by going within. A tranquil mind is not a small gift. Course in Miracles tells us that. Verbatim, point blank. Yeah. A tranquil mind is not a small gift. This is how we access the stream and the flow of direct communication with God. We are unable to do it when we're running around frantic. I mean, if you're racing physically and mentally and stressed out and hyperventilating, then that's not the right space to be in. It's not the right time, and it's not the right mindset for this direct communication to occur. In other words, we got to chill out, enter the practice of meditation or yoga or a walk in the woods, prayer, whatever it is that gets us out of the daily grind mindset, gets us to focus on ourself, capital S, yeah? Gives us the time and the space. It's critical. In that space, we can access this communication. Now, what happens when we do? Well, if you've had this experience, you will relate and you will know. If you've not yet had this experience, you will. And then at that point, you will relate and you will know. And I want to submit that right now, intuitively, in your gut, you know already. What we're doing in spirituality is making this communication constant. In other words, we're remembering who we really are. We're remembering. We've simply wandered around and chosen to forget. How about we choose to remember? That's what this is. Nothing more, nothing less. So what happens when you're in that stream? What happens when you're in the flow of communication? Well, you show up differently in the world, don't you? You look at spiritual teachers, they're in it. Yeah, somebody like the Dalai Lama is in it. Great spiritual teachers are in it. Yeah, the historical Buddha was in it. Jesus is in it. Yeah, other teachers are in it. We all have access to this. So what does it look like? Well, confidence and clarity, certainty. This is how you show up when you're in the stream, when you're in the flow. When you are communicating directly, you are literally a conduit for source energy. You're a conduit for the divine. I'm one right now. You'll be one later today, maybe. Maybe you're doing that right now. Maybe you're aware of it. Maybe you're not. This is how we do it. We enter this flow, and then the source energy, divinity, God, spirit, source, the Holy Spirit, name your term, speaks through us. So quite properly and accurately, it's not really us that's doing the talking. I simply look like I'm sitting here talking to the camera in front of a beautiful Navajo weaving, a couple of paintings. The one in the top corner was painted by my grandmother. Got a couple of masks behind me. I'm wearing a blue and white shirt. Now, all just terms that we invented. I mean, what's really blue and white? They're words that we made up. So I only appear to be here. What you're hearing when you tune in is yourself, capital S. You're literally hearing source messages. This is how we communicate, really communicate. We go within and tap into this being, this energy, this presence within us, what happens? Then we show up in the world with presence, with clarity, crystal clarity, with 100% certainty, with a loving message, with a compassionate and kind message and lighthearted, even though a teacher is often challenging you. You can bet I am. You know it. So this is what it looks like when you are in communication. Things are effortless, as you may know, if you are in it or have been. They're effortless. And what happens is you'll hear precisely what you need to hear. If you are listening to this or watching the replay and you don't hear anything at all, then you weren't meant to hear anything. Now, if something resonates with you, I'd love you to put it in the comments. Absolutely, for sure. Yeah, this is how you show up. It becomes effortless, and you have maximum impact because the people listening to you will hear precisely what they're meant to hear from you. What's going to resonate with them will resonate with them. Your job, show up and communicate. That's it. That's all. They will get what they are to get. You will get from this live stream exactly what you are supposed to get from this live stream. That may look outwardly different for each of you, and that's perfectly normal. So how does it feel? Well, it's deeply relaxing to be in communication. That's the best word that I can describe. It's powerful. It's powerful. And this certainty is powerful, that it's deeply, deeply relaxing. It's tranquil, it's calm, and it's crystal clear. So when we're in this fluid state, when we're in this flow, we communicate exactly what we're supposed to. And of course, that may not be what you had planned, but that's all right. That's all right, because what we often have planned is not what we're meaning to be saying anyway. It's not what we need to say. And it's not going to be necessarily, just because we planned it out meticulously doesn't mean that it's going to be the most effective, most skillful, most loving thing, right, that we could say. So this is communication. Spiritual practice is all about it. And it is, I stress, about the internal work. Does it take discipline? Of course. Does it take focus? Yeah. Does it take consistency, persistence, determination, reminder after reminder? Yes, it does. That's why so many people aren't doing it. Yeah, that's why some people start and stop. The workbook for students of A Course in Miracles is a classic example. Every time I start a group or a live stream, there are people that say, okay, I'm going to try to do it this time. Well, let's do it this time. Try is, in fact, a really disempowering word. Yeah, it does take commitment. Now, the reward is fantastic. It's more than you could ever expect it to be. To have these glimpses of your own nature, even if they only last for a couple of seconds, will change your life. They will alter it radically, foundationally, fundamentally, you name it, in every way. And you cannot help but show up in the world differently. You cannot help but show up more poised, more confident, clear, concise, loving, forgiving, happy, humorous, right? Because laughter is beautiful medicine. You'll show up differently. You'll show up more effectively. Boom, what happens? You attract the people that you're meant to attract. something that I said a few days ago that I want to reiterate. There are people in this world that only you can reach. So reach them. That's your responsibility and your job. Literally, for each of us, there are people in the world that will respond best to our message and only our message. So if we withhold this message for one reason or another, we're depriving them of an opportunity to experience the truth of who we really are. We really are. So it's all about showing up and teaching. You don't have to assume the form that I'm assuming right now as a spiritual teacher or a minister or a spiritual coach or whatever the title may be. Energetically, you are teaching. When you choose love and extend love, when you communicate, in other words, you are teaching. So let's all do that. That's why we're here. All right. So let's see who's joining me here on the live stream here on Enlightened World Network. And again, happy Memorial Day, Monday, to all of you. I'll bring this up. And often our technology spins. So live, I'm getting the spinning wheel on Facebook. So if you're here, give me a shout out. I'm going to bring the live stream up here. And hello, everybody. And thank you all for joining in. Let me know where you're joining me from here today. And if you're catching the replay, feel welcome to leave comments here on the live. This is a daily live stream, so I will be back tomorrow. We'll continue on in the workbook for students with lesson 100. So that's the 100th idea that we're going to cover. It's profound, it's deep, so you will find something there that will be of value and benefit to your spiritual practice, to your own walk, no matter what that looks like. All right, so thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for joining me here today.